Hello, my name is Lydia, and we are here to discuss a project that is meant to circumvent satellite and traditional fiber for broadcast and instead use ultra-high bandwidth photonic networks. So we've got Rick in Toronto from Ryerson and Cliff in Sudbury from Laurentian University in conjunction with TFO. So welcome, gentlemen, to our little discussion.
Hi, Lydia.
Cliff, can you talk a little bit about TFO, what you do there, and how does this all tie into the project?
I'm a technical producer with TFO, and we're interested in seeing how we can work on this project to develop HD over IP. What this will allow us to do is it'll cost a little less. Being a not-for-profit broadcaster, it allows us to reach out more in the community and reach points that we couldn't have gotten to before.
That's great. And Rick, of course, Ryerson University is involved. Can you talk a little bit about what we're doing and why we're doing this?
Well, I guess we started off this project trying to build it into a student network, a student television network that we have here. And we've tried to make it accessible for everybody, and so we could access anywhere in the world and basically talk to people in Japan, talk to people wherever. And we'd use ourselves as sort of the CNN of the world. We do a lot of newscasts here, our journalism department, our RUTV network, and we really want to be able to fill our scheduled day with content. So we want to be able to acquire this content, but we also want to be able to conduct live sort of interviews, much as we're doing here. Aside from just hooking up to the Orion network for high speed, we could actually do this along internet too in the States, and there are other networks all around the world. So literally we could throw to a university in Japan and do a live broadcast much as this, and at a minimal cost compared to doing something like a satellite feed, which the broadcasters use. So we figured it would work for the student networks. Perhaps we could expand it and have broadcasters such as Cliff and TFO as a component of all this.
So like you said, we're doing this live broadcast right now using this exact technology. Cliff, can you maybe describe the setup you have going on there so we get into the technological side of things?
Well, what we're using at this end is we've brought one of our EFP cameras, which is a Panasonic HPX 2000. We're sending out HDSDI to a decoder which sends a signal to Toronto where they decode. So we have the encoder at this end, they decode at the other end, and we're streaming there right now. I'm also seeing you back on the return through the same line.
And now it promises to have zero latency. Is that what we're experiencing right now? I mean, I'm hearing everyone completely fine. It feels like an extremely natural conversation to me. How are we measuring this? Cliff or Rick?
Well, we're doing it subjectively, just to see how we respond. We're recording the whole event live. We're also doing some tests. You could probably see some numbers under there, some time code. And we're doing some tests before and after this, basically so we can see how long, what the delay time is between when you're seeing and hearing something and when it's sort of sent through the loop and back again. So we'll have a pretty good idea of how long it takes to get the whole process in and out. But most importantly, it's how people react during this interview process, and it feels pretty natural.
It does. It really, really does.
Well, conversationally, it's fine. Like I can hear you guys great, and the response time is pretty good.
Yeah, great.
And technically, here what we've done is we've hooked it up to our studio in Ryerson, our HD studio, and
where I'm sitting right now.
Yep, and we've basically got it feeding ins and outs to 2 locations. And the other unique thing about this technology is, as Cliff mentioned, it's allowing us to have intercom between locations. It's allowing us to monitor between locations, so I can see myself and see you in the studio. Allowing us to have IFB, as Cliff has in his ear. I have a bit of a big one here, but you can see Cliff, he can point to it. He has a little one in his ear. As you do, Lydia, as well. You have a little IFB in your ear.
Yep.
So the director can talk to you or us or anybody, as well as we can each hear each other talking.
And Cliff, apart from the live broadcast that we're doing right now, what are some of the other benefits of this technology?
Well, as I mentioned, reaching out to the community is quite important. What we have is files that can be accessible by different educational facilities. So it'd be nice that this kind of setup over network provides us more access and higher streaming, so they can see it in a better resolution.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like an extremely ambitious project, I guess. Rick, what are some of the responses you've been hearing here at Ryerson?
Well, so far, I mean, everybody's very excited about it. Certainly the students, I mean, as I mentioned, we wanted to sort of be the CNN of the world,
yeah.
the students' world, to be able to do newscasts anywhere in the world and circumvent not just the satellite networks, but we use a lot of news services to give us some of the content that they use for our newscasts. So this would allow us to go live to a lot of those locations, but also to bring in files and content from all those different locations. And there are about 4,100 universities that are hooked up to this network worldwide along the high-speed path. But aside from the high-speed path, we're also able to connect even via a regular Ethernet cable. You could take one of these boxes, plug it into the network, as long as it's a stable, reliable network, hook into it and do almost the same quality and low latency and all the same feeds as we're doing here in this along the Orion path. The only thing we've found so far is that sometimes, depending on how many connections it goes through, if there are a lot of connections, sometimes you can lose the signal here or there. You know, we're aiming along, especially the Orion path, to have a zero problem scenario where we don't lose feeds at all, because the Orion network is up pretty solidly all the time. So it's really, the problems usually lie in all the interconnections. If you have a clean feed from one to the other location along the Orion path, it should work as well as satellite, if not better, with all the stuff it can feed out into. Yeah. As well as, I mean, what we want to do is we want to show this technology down at the NAB convention to show really what it can do to the rest of the, for the rest of the broadcast community. But again, also, I mean, my initial big push was for the student networks to get it up and going, but it can go very far once we know it's working 100%.
Perfect. Thank you, Cliff, for joining us. Thank you, Rick. Thank you both. And I guess good luck, and we'll see what happens at the NAB.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.